Welcome to all. I am Dr. Malti Goel. We are here to celebrate the World Environment Day, which is on 5th June every year. And the theme this year is biodiversity. Biodiversity, as you know, continuously get transformed by the changing weather and climate. It is said that human intervention and climate change are causing almost a loss of 100 to 1000 times of the natural loss. Such restrictions are now creating perfect conditions for the pandemic like COVID-19. In future, the loss may become even 10 times more by 2050, and then it is predicted that we are heading towards the mass extinction of the planet Earth. It is essential that we safeguard the biodiversity now to avoid such future calamities and take action. The Climate Research Institute, which I am heading, has a campaign on Environment Day every year. And the India International Center with its association has motivated us. And this year it is special as the global pandemic COVID has taken over the world by surprise. The Environment Day marks the society's unified and digital response to our environmental crisis. I will be the theme of my talk is post-COVID-19, future of biodiversity. My presentation is in 4 parts: COVID-19 first, then biological or biodiversity second, the challenges it is throwing on us, and the future motivation. This picture amply clears that biodiversity and COVID-19 is both nature sending us a message for taking care of the planet. These days, we hear about the corona at least 100 times in a day. So let me first begin with the corona. What is the difference between the coronavirus and COVID-19? Sometimes these terms are confused and we talk COVID-19, but it is actually the coronavirus, which is a large family of viruses which may cause illness in animals or humans. In humans, several coronaviruses are known earlier to cause respiratory infections, which are ranging from common cold to more severe diseases. And COVID-19 is the coronavirus COVID, which occurred in 2019 first time, so COVID-19. It is a zoonotic disease caused by the new coronavirus SARS, also named as SARS-CoV-2. The SARS-CoV-1 was detected in 2003 and affected China mostly. COVID-19 has been declared as a pandemic and has impacted over 213 countries of the world. Looking at this diagram, you can see that 11th March, on which day the pandemic, it was declared as pandemic by the WHO. Italy was having highest affected patients on 11th of March, and United States was on the 8th position, followed by Japan and Switzerland. And now, just after a month or so, that is on 19th April, United States has taken over as the top affected country, and Italy is second. So this is spreading very, very fast and has what are its unique features which we come across. COVID-19, it is a global spread of disease. It is a unique in a way because it does not demarcate between developed and developing countries. World come into lockdown. Machine mobility came to a stop. Where you are, you stay there. What it resulted? Work from home culture. You work from home. Then restriction in the movement of elderly. They couldn't go out for a walk. Increased uses of mobile, like new apps, seminars, and meditation. Overcrowding one after another, and increased awareness about an environment. Let us have a look at first this picture, coronavirus. an environment which says that from Jalandhar, taken from Jalandhar 200 kilometer, one could see the Himalayan snow peaks. From Saharanpur, one could see the Himalayan peaks. This was not seen by anyone in their lifetime before. And then I also looked at what is corona in air, because we are supposed to be taking certain precautions, and we are expected to take certain precautions. Coronavirus can linger in the air. Now, where it is, a study was conducted in the Wuhan city of China only, which was reported that they took 30 samples across the 30 sites, and then studied them thoroughly, and they found that how it makes an aerosol in air and how it moves, and except in areas which are prone to crowding, such as entrance of the big stores, or it was found that in open public areas such or our residential buildings, or inside the supermarkets, or even outside the hospitals, the concentration of aerosol was generally low. But in the case of lack of ventilation or in the crowded spaces, the COVID-19 concentration were very high, and it could either be transmitted through the patient's breath, or through direct contact, or through contact with the surfaces. So we were in a panic on one hand that one patient can multiply into so many patients, and on one hand we were watching the clean environment and feeling good around good. Now let us see what World Environment Day is. I come to that, which is celebrated now in 143 countries of the world, beginning in 1974. It is every year, and now it has been also popularly called as People's Day, because to emphasize that people are the one who take care and support the environment. So this World Environment Day is so important to create awareness on one of the theme assigned by the United Nations Environment Program, and also one of the host country now since 1987. So this year the theme is biodiversity, and biodiversity is a subject which concerns every one of us, and India hosted the World Environment Day in 2018, and China hosted it in 2019. So let me talk about the biodiversity. You all know that living organisms of all kind, either on terrestrial, marine, or any other aquatic systems, all ecological complexes on Earth, they are part of biological diversity. And marine biodiversity especially refers to species, richness and abundance in the world oceans and seas. And it is more important also because 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by oceans. And marine biodiversity also include coastal plant and animal species and their genetic varieties, habitats and ecosystems. So it's a huge. It is estimated that there may already we have recorded 1.7 million varieties of animals, plants and fungi, but it is expected there could be 8 to 9 million species, or possibly it could be up to 100. So we don't know really, but what we have done is just tip of the iceberg. And biodiversity has many levels. The three main levels are genetic biodiversity, species diversity and ecological diversity. I'll go through one by one. The genetic biodiversity is diversity of genes, as you understand, within a species. And you can have a look on the right hand side picture. Let us have the species biodiversity, which we all know that they are different flowers, fungus, insects, plants, animals, birds, everything. And they are all different species, and the distribution of a species type of diversity is amazing. It shows that insects form more than 60% of the species biodiversities around us. There are bacteria, viruses, fungi, algae, plants and different animals. Okay, and the ecological biodiversity talks about the landscape. Each kind of ecology, whatever the zone on the earth, whether it is a temperate forest or it is a tropical grassland or it is in the mountain, there are different ecological varieties which exist on the earth. Biodiversity, which is very important for us economically also, because we need them as food sources, we need them reefs, coral reefs into medicines to maintain the human health, we need them in industry, for cosmetics, building materials, and also for tourism, beaches, forest, parks, etc. Now, biodiversity loss is a major concern, and there are worries that species are becoming extinct very fast. And now, the hippo is defined as the decline in biodiversity as a short form, where H for hippo stands for natural habitat degradation. With the addition of the human activities, making roads, homes, buildings, mining, agriculture, all the things, the natural habitat of the species is affected, and they sometimes are extinct, become die. Introduction. Then there are invasive species of unknown type, which also come over the attack on the native species, and they kill them sometimes. So they are also cause of biodiversity loss. We all know that increasing pollution and giving rise to influx of carbon dioxide, global warming in the atmosphere, and they are directly impact air and water qualities. And therefore, in the oceans, they become more acidic. Then the second P is about the population growth. Population is growing, already, so expected to become cross 9 billion in 2050, and there are various activities associated, and with the increase of population there is a new ways of threat to biodiversity, which again gives rise to habitat loss and of resources. O is for the over exploitation of natural resources, which is extraction of resources through mining from the natural environment at an unsustainable rate. For example, if we have to do mining, then we have to remove certain the living organisms, and it causes environmental destruction, and that's why sometimes the mining activities take long time to get approval and environmental clearances, and it can include trees, plants, animals which are targeted also for other activities. So this also lead to decline in biodiversity, and the major causes are the global warming and climate change, and also international wild animal trade, which have led to now we have given rise to the projects like Tiger Project in India, because we want to save the rare wild animals. So they are also one of the causes. So we now are come to the situation, destruction of habitat and loss of biodiversity is creating the perfect conditions for disease like COVID, which we are having it now. And what actions are we taking to prevent the loss, biodiversity loss? Of course, it is not that we are not bothered and we are not concerned about it. So we have done it from the 1988 onwards. The United Nations had convened the ad hoc working group of experts to safeguard biological diversity. That was in 1988. Further, the group was extended to include the technical and legal expert both in 89, so that one can share the cost and benefit equally between developed and developing countries to whom the earth belongs. And then International Convention on Biodiversity came into being as a multilateral environmental treaty after the Rio Summit, Earth Summit in 1992, and the first session of CBD was convened in 1994. Since then, it is being regularly held, and India in 2012 took over presidency of CBD for 2 years, and the 11th session of COP was held in Hyderabad, India. The CBD, I am just touching upon the objectives because as now they are under review, seeing the conditions at present, conservation of and looking at the future of biodiversity. Conservation of biological diversity was the main objective, with the sustainable use of components of biodiversity and also the equitable and fair sharing of the benefits arising out of the utilization of the biodiverse generic resources. Well, these have done well, but since now we are facing the challenge we are looking at what the future is going to be, so it is important that these objectives come under review on the treaty. Coming to the biological diversity in India, India is one of the richest nations in terms of biological diversity. It helped to maintain the main important cycle on earth, which is carbon cycle and carbon exchanges and water cycle, and they are affected also with the changing taking place in the biodiversity, and the conservation leads to conservation of the ecological diversity, so that the soil fertility is replenished and we can preserve the food chains for the food security. Then India is located in the tropical and subtropical latitudes, and it has all kinds of ecological habitats like forests, mountains, grasslands, wetlands, coastal and marine ecosystems, deserts. So it is rich, and it is on the track also for its national biodiversity target. Let's have a look at the acts which have been inducted in India from 1876 onwards, and Indian Forest Act was announced first in 1876. Every 15 years or so, there were a new act like Fisheries Act, Destruction of Insects and Pest Act, and then Forest Act. But after independence in 1972, the first Wildlife Protection Act came. And since then, every 5 to 6 years, that act has been amended or a new act has been given to preserve the biodiversity, and which is the success of India's in this field. Like from 72, there was Wildlife Protection Act, then Forest Conservation Act, Environment Protection Act, and 91 Wildlife Protection Amendment, and then Biological Diversity Act came in 2002. And the rules came, and the Forest Right Act particularly dealt with the forest dwellers and how they can take of biodiversity protection. That was in 2006. And we have two action plans brought out: National Biodiversity Action Plan and Integrated National Fisheries Action Plan, which came out in 2009 and 2016. So India is quite ahead on this. But is it? Maybe this is the reason India is affected less by the pandemic as compared to other countries. Can we say that? I don't know. We have to check. But I'm just coming to the biodiversity loss and COVID-19, where nature is given us the message of outbreak of animal-borne infectious diseases like Ebola, SARS, MERS, bird flu, now COVID-19, swine flu. They were some of the are on the rise. Pathogens are crossing from animals to humans and are spreading quickly to new places, and the spread is so fast. And the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention came out that about 3/4 of these diseases called as zoonotic diseases are infect humans originating from the animals. The rare animal traits which feed international market also lead to contamination of urban centers. And now it is believed that epidemic of SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, has risen out of the proximity between the bats, carnivores, and gullible human consumers. But that is also a theory, we do not have a proof yet. We are learning every day from the disease, and global standards are being maintained by the WHO, who is guiding on how to take care, how to protect ourselves, and how to prevent the virus flow. So, we have now come to the conclusion that safeguarding biodiversity is essential to prevent the next pandemic. And pandemic is an example of mistreated biodiversity, it said on April 30, 2020. So we are very clear now that we have to take action for the future of our biodiversity now. And the challenges which for safeguarding biodiversity I am listed here. Many of them we have talked about, like global warming, climate change. We talked about the wildlife blockage corridors, international animal trade, then over-exploitation of the forest areas, emergence of new economic opportunities with the use of new economic opportunity also affect the biodiversity, competing development needs, unsustainable land use, wildfires, and energy, using the firewood and other material for energy. They all are actually affecting the biodiversity. And what synergy it has with climate change? The question which comes to our mind, are they related? People are talking, are COVID-19 and climate change, is there any link? Or is there, of course, we now understand that biodiversity loss is, climate change is one of the major threat. But about the COVID also, can we say that? So let me first see what is the synergy with climate change about biodiversity in terms of how it is quantified. Increasing greenhouse gas accumulation giving rise to warming, almost 3/4 of land surface and 2/3 of ocean areas getting affected, growing ocean acidification, we are in the oceans because of CO2, high CO2 absorption rate, the carbon dioxide which is in the atmosphere getting absorbed 3 times more than the land, and the coral reef getting bleached and also reducing to half almost. Dramatic glaciers are melt and the polar ice melting. So you see there are such phenomena being observed on day-to-day basis, and extinction of various wildlife species is happening, leading to loss of biodiversity. So there has to be a synergy. I just thought I'll quote this study which is done by a global market study, trends study by Mori, and this is on the question what kind of is climate change and COVID, how they are connected, or are they equally serious or they are not. Well, let me tell you, the study has definitely concluded that climate change is as serious as the COVID-19 crisis, but definitely the climate change is a slower process so far, and the COVID-19 has gripped us within a period of 4 months. So even though we think they are equally serious, but then we can still wait for taking actions about climate change as it is happening for so many years. But COVID, we could not wait. We had to take our action immediately. So anyway, this is an interesting result, so I shared with you. So now I come to the final part of my presentation, which is what is the future post-COVID. National challenges and responses. We are now post in the discussion, as I said, we are thinking how to go about, how to build up our economies, how to go see that there is no further threats in future, as well as how do we revive to process of growth, which is climate change, which also reduces carbon footprints. So nature is sending refreshing signals, no doubt, but there is a huge economic disruption. There is a challenge to our food security. There is a migration of casual workers which is drawing our attention severely, then there is a lack of public health infrastructure. It has been realized not only in India but in many other countries. There is a need for improving efficiency of community service, we have realized. There is a move towards digitization in everything. Now it is becoming important that people get connected through phones, and they are accessible. They can make it accessible, and then there is education, for example, is also being made online. So there is a great challenge in education. The schools have been closed for months, and we cannot afford for our youth to be not getting exposed to the learning. So there are new decisions are being taken, like for example 12 new channels are being allotted for educational as educational channels. So we are looking at it. So finally we are going towards an Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is our goal, Atmanirbhar Bharat. And I must mention a few things about the science, technology, research, because intensifying of science, technology and innovation is one of the goal which has been taken a jump to find out after COVID. And scientific agencies like DST, DBT, CSIR, ICMR, DRDO, information technology, all have mounted R&D investment to find testing, diagnostics, cure and the vaccine for coronavirus. Over 30 institutions are now engaged in finding the scientific solutions. Collaborative research within the country and other countries is being given a push. Manufacturing of things like masks, PPE kits, India has achieved new targets, and also exporting. Then pharmacy, private sector are mounting their efforts to make low cost sanitizers and immunity boosting medicines so that people can be protected. Now, unlike the earlier case when the sanitizer price immediately jumped, now there is no such conflict in the nation. So this is one of the important thing. So when we talk of future diversity, of course it is a huge, vast subject, and as I said that there are already predictions that we are moving towards mass extinction, and also that the loss is going to increase 10 times more in 2050. So what really we can do, because we cannot go on like this and have pandemics every now and then. So there are some solutions which I have thought of, like at the grassroots level, active participation of the local community in preserving the biodiversity in their region. They must be able to take decision, and they must be allowed to take decision rather. Increasing awareness on human role in biodiversity, and that's what we are trying to do as a Climate Change Research Institute, to increase the awareness on biodiversity of the nation, of the world, and the challenges. And then introducing also conservation education now in the curriculum. Then we can think of the scientific research studies on remote sensing and plant diversity. Of course, India is rich, but one can still, there is a lot of scope to carry out such studies, and especially species distribution modeling studies. These are the just two I mentioned, but that doesn't mean that there are not other areas. And finally, also for the future of biodiversity to protect, there should be a greater synergy between biodiversity and climate change, and there should be taxonomy studies more and more, especially in marine environment. They are absolutely very low. And the documentation is going to be the future. Unless we have a data on all and we have documented, there will we won't be able to take like documentation in rural biodiversity, in urban biodiversity, urban forest, rural forest, all they need to be documented well, and that is how we can take the torch ahead for preserving. And finally, I thank my number of experts who have been in area experts who are being giving me the in our institute and our team, and many more who are not shown here. And I thank India International Center for Association with this global pandemic discourse. and biodiversity. And I thank you very much for listening and end with the quote that biodiversity though starts in the distant past, maybe billions of years ago, but it points towards the future. Thank you very much.